inches at the shoulder and 75 pounds, about the size and shape of a small deer. I wasn't sure I could lift him, and that wasn't the only problem. I had absolutely no idea what to do. I didn't have my wallet or my cell phone, and my husband was, once again, out of town. But then someone called the nearest vet's office, and even though it wasn't open, they were sending someone there to meet me. The vet's office was several blocks away, and somebody hailed a taxi, and somebody else picked up my dog, and the boy with the killer Cocker Spaniel said, "I'm sorry, I hope my dog didn't kill your dog." He dug around in his pocket and extracted a crumpled $20 bill. It was dirty and worn. "For the taxi," he said as he pressed it into my hand. I got into the taxi, and someone placed the still warm, dead dog on the seat next to me. "Hurry, please," I said to the driver. One of the things you learn about middle age is that life is not a movie. In a movie, the driver would have said, "Oh my God, poor you and your poor dog," and rushed to the animal hospital, and somehow the brilliant New York City veterinarians would have revived my dog and he would have lived. But in real life, the cab driver is not having any of it. He is not having your dead dog in the back seat of his taxi. "No dogs allowed." "It's an emergency." "Why? Is the dog sick?" Yes, he's dying. Please, sir, he may already be dead." This was the wrong thing to say. "He's dead? I can't have a dead dog in my taxi. For a dead dog, you've got to call an ambulance." "I don't have my cell phone," I screamed. The driver tried to get me to get out of the cab, but I wasn't getting out, and he wasn't going to touch the dog, so eventually he gave in. He only had to travel 3 blocks up 6th Avenue, but the traffic was bumper to bumper. He verbally abused me all the way. I tuned him out by reminding myself that no matter how bad my situation, there was another woman somewhere in the world who had it much worse. And besides, my dog dropping dead unexpectedly wasn't the most terrible thing that had happened to me lately. The year before, my mother had died. Hers was another unexpected death. When she was in her 50s, my age, she took hormone replacement pills. It was a standard prescription for a woman going through menopause. The problem was, the hormones could cause breast cancer, often deadly. And so, even though there was no history of breast cancer in our family, and all the women on both sides of my family had lived well into their 90s, my mother passed away at 72. Back then, I'd tried to pretend it was fine, even though it wasn't. My hair fell out and I couldn't eat. It took me a long time to reconcile it, but my friends had been there for me, and so, too, had my husband. When I arrived at the animal hospital, they kindly let me use their landline to call anyone I needed. Luckily, I had a few numbers memorized, like my husband's. I called him 3 times. No answer. It wasn't 9 a.m. yet. He didn't start work for another 30 minutes. Where was he? And my friend Marilyn. She arrived 10 minutes later, speed-walking from her apartment in Chelsea. Marilyn hadn't had her coffee or a shower, and like me, she was dressed in sweats. Our faces unwashed, our teeth unbrushed, and our hair uncombed, we looked at each other. What now? The dog died from an aneurysm. That's what the vet thought, although she couldn't say for sure unless they sent the dog away for an autopsy. Did I want that? No, I didn't, my friend Marilyn said. My husband had always hated the dog. I wondered if the death of Tuco was a sign. It was. I didn't know it then, but my relationship was like an aneurysm. A death waiting to happen. 3 months later, in November, my husband asked for a divorce. He did it the day after one of those huge freak snowstorms. We were at my little house in Connecticut, and there was no water or power. I couldn't imagine going back to the city with him, so I stayed in the country, scooping up snow and melting it over a fire to keep the toilet going. The divorce wrangling began. It had the usual shockingly ugly moments, but compared to other people's divorces, it was a relative breeze. Except for one wrinkle. The mortgage on the apartment. The old one had to be canceled and a new one drawn up in just my name.